If you're looking for a story about, well, true visionaries, a story packed with engineering genius, huge wins, global disaster, and maybe one of the most incredible corporate comebacks ever, you really have to start in a kind of damp German basement more than 100 years ago. Not exactly glamorous.
No, not at all. And today we're doing a deep dive into the life of Ettore Bugatti. It's extraordinary, but also, deeply tragic in parts. Our mission here is to look at the sources and trace his incredible rise, as an engineer who really believed machines were rolling art, and then the crash, the company collapse that made him give it all up, and its, let's say, controversial return as this king of hypercars.
It's a story where, pure artistic drive just slams head-on into brutal world events.
Absolutely. That collision is key.
Okay, so let's dig into that artistic route you mentioned first, because it feels so central to everything Bugatti, doesn't it? Ettore Bugatti, born Milan, 1881, he came from serious artistic pedigree.
Oh, definitely. His father, Carlo, an internationally famous designer. Furniture, jewelry, the works. And his grandfather was a well-known architect and sculptor. So this wasn't just about making things, it was about making masterpieces. Aesthetics were everything.
Right, a whole dynasty of perfectionists.
Exactly, and that DNA, that aesthetic sense, it's crucial. Ettore's younger brother, Rembrandt Bugatti, what a name, by the way, he became this amazing animal sculptor. Some even said his talent maybe overshadowed Ettore's early on. Ettore didn't sculpt animals, obviously, but he brought that same artistic demand into engineering. For him, an engine block wasn't just functional metal. No, it had to be finished like jewelry, polished. His cars needed to be beautiful, not just fast.
He was just naturally gifted at it. We're talking about a kid, 16 years old, no real formal training, fixes a broken tricycle, just like that.
Yeah, that was apparently the light bulb moment for his father. He realized, okay, the artistic drive is there, it's just mechanical. So he gets Ettore an apprenticeship at Pernetti and Stucci. They made sewing machines, bicycles, good place to learn mechanics.
By 17, he's deep into mechanical design. And just a year later, 18 years old, he's already designing his own performance vehicle.
Right, a motorized tricycle.
Yeah.
Used 2 Didion engines, actually.
Yeah.
Built it specifically for the big Paris to Bordeaux race. The sources are clear. He wasn't there to learn the rules. He was learning how to perfect the machine, how to break boundaries.
And this idea of refinement, total control, it really takes hold around 1900. He's 19, leaves the apprenticeship. He's just totally driven to build his own car, completely from scratch.
Obsessive perfectionist is how the sources describe him. Drew every single detail down to the last bolt. Supervised the making of every part. And that became his ritual, didn't it? That commitment to purity. It lasted his whole life.
It did, and this level of detail, it apparently made his designs really complex, almost confusing to the established engineers back then.
Yeah, but his talent got noticed. The Dietrich Company hired him to design cars. But here's the funny thing, he was still technically a minor, so his dad, Carlo, had to co-sign his first professional contract. Imagine that for such a, visionary talent.
Yeah. And he was already pushing things, way ahead of the curve. 1903 builds his second car for the Paris-Madrid race. But it was so radical, so different, they basically said it was too experimental. Didn't even let him compete.
So what was so radical? What was this big idea?
It boiled down to geometry, actually. Simple but revolutionary.
Ettore was absolutely convinced that the driver and the engine low in the chassis, way lower than standard. He believed that was the secret to better aerodynamics, better center of gravity.
While everyone else was sitting up high.
Exactly. High seating was the norm.
Yeah.
Better visibility, maybe tradition, I don't know. They thought Ettore's long, low design looked, weird.
So purely challenging tradition for performance. That sounds like the Bugatti we know.
That's the core of it. And if you look ahead, that unconventional style, it basically became the blueprint for almost every performance car that followed. He really saw the future there.
Okay, so a few years later, he's working at another company, Dedites, and this is when he has that real aha moment, right?
Yeah, the industry was obsessed with huge, heavy engines. Brute force. Ettore thought, hang on, why not small? Lightweight. Efficient.
And he takes this idea and literally goes down into his own basement.
Right into the basement. And starts building the Type 10. The first car that actually carried the Bugatti name.
And it was tiny but mighty, wasn't it?
Totally revolutionary in its minimalism. Tiny 1.2-liter 4-cylinder engine. But the whole car. Only 365 kilograms. Super light. It could hit 80 kilometers per hour, which was pretty quick back then. More than just speed, it was a statement. Lightness beats brute force.
This all leads up to 1909. Big year for him.
Huge year. He quits his job at Dietz, takes that Type 10 prototype, drives it to Molsheim and Alsace, which was German then, and founds Automobiles Ettore Bugatti. The company's born.
And on a personal note, his first son, Jean Bugatti, is born the same year, setting up the future, or so it seemed.
Exactly. And Ettore knew right away the best way to prove his ideas: racing. Dominate the track. He was one of the absolute first to use racing competitions like that, as marketing, to show off what his cars could do. It set a standard for the whole industry.
And the Type 10 quickly evolved into the Type 13. What were the key changes there?
Well, they added leaf springs on the rear axle for better handling, but the big leap, the really clever bit, was adopting 4 valves per cylinder.
The 16-valve head design.
Precisely. Doubling the valves basically let the engine breathe much, much better. More air in, more exhaust out, more efficiency, more power from that small engine. So you get 30 horsepower, which sounds tiny now, but in a chassis weighing only 300 kilograms, that thing was lethal on the racetrack.
And the results came fast. Second place, 1911 French Grand Prix. Pretty impressive debut.
Very. Then after World War I, Molsheim became French territory, and that multi-valve design really cemented Bugatti's reputation. They just dominated the races at Brescia in 1921, won 3 more times there too. So the car became known as the Type 13 Brescia. They built, 2,000 of them before 1926?
Wow, but the absolute peak of their racing power was the Type 35, right?
Right.
Introduced in 24.
Yeah, the Type 35 was legendary. Easily the most successful racing model ever, won over 1,000 races, just unbelievable dominance. That streak went right into the late 30s, including, importantly, 2 wins at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yes, 1937 and then again in 1939. And that 39 win, the driver was Pierre Véron, a name that definitely rings a bell today with modern Bugattis.
It certainly does. So, okay, they've conquered the racetrack. What next? Ettore and his son Jean, they decide to pivot, aim higher. They decide to go for the absolute ultimate in luxury and prestige, and it leads to the Type 41 Bugatti Royale in 1926.
The Royale, just the name says it all. It was literally the biggest, most luxurious, most audacious car conceived at that time. Pure extravagance built on engineering mastery. But hold on, thinking about the business side, Ettore was notoriously picky about who could even buy a Royale. Kings, aristocracy only. Wasn't that incredibly risky, even in the roaring 20s? Betting it all on just a handful of super rich buyers.
It was a huge gamble, absolutely. Rooted partly in Ettore's ego, partly in this idea of artistic exclusivity. He didn't just want it to be a car, he wanted it to be a myth. He only built 6 of them in the end. The problem was, as you hinted, the world wasn't heading towards more opulence. It was heading straight for economic disaster.
Exactly the point. Launching this hyper-exclusive car just 3 years before the 1929 Great Depression, the timing couldn't have been worse.
Tragic timing. The Depression just wiped out global fortunes, those potential Royale customers. Their wealth vanished. Sales completely stalled. By the mid-1930s, despite all the racing glory, the company was teetering on the edge of bankruptcy.
And the irony here is pretty thick, isn't it? The guy who only sold cars to kings, the ultimate perfectionist,
Had to do something completely different to survive. He reluctantly took a French government contract, not for cars, but for rail cars, trains.
He turned his precision factory into a train manufacturer. It sounds almost surreal.
It worked. It was the lifeline. He designed around 80 really successful Bugatti rail cars, even high-speed trains that could top 100 miles per hour. It's this remarkable, very pragmatic detour. He saved the company by building, fast public transport.
But even as he's fighting off these external financial storms, things inside the company started getting shaky.
Yeah, there was a big strike. Long, bitter strike at the Molsheim plant. Workers wanted better wages, better conditions. Ettore eventually gave in. But the sources suggest that rift, that lack of trust between him and his workers, probably fueled by his, let's say, uncompromising management style, it never really healed.
And then, on top of all the financial stress and labor issues, came just unimaginable personal tragedy.
Yeah. Ettore had his successor lined up. His son, Jean, brilliant engineer, just like his father. Jean was behind iconic designs like the Atlantic, the Type 57. He was the perfect heir.
The future of the company.
Absolutely. But then August 1939. Just 2 months after that second Le Mans win, Jean's doing a high-speed road test, the Type 57 tank racer prototype. According to the official report, this cyclist just appeared out of nowhere on the road. Jean swerved to avoid him, lost control.
Crashed into a tree, died instantly.
Instantly. It just devastated Ettore, ripped the heart out of the family, the company. The one person who could really carry the torch was gone. And this grief lands on top of losing his brother Rembrandt, who had committed suicide during World War I. Just crushing loss.
And the timing. August 1939.
Right.
The world is literally on the brink of war.
Couldn't have been worse. And the war came crashing down almost immediately. 3 weeks after Jean's death, the German army invades Alsace. They move straight for the Bugatti factory.
Ettore saw it coming, tried to move machinery to Bordeaux.
He did, but the Germans found him, and they had demands. They wanted him to convert the factory to make military equipment, torpedoes, vehicles for the Wehrmacht.
But he refused.
He refused, took a stand on principle. But reality bites hard. He had mounting debts, he's under occupation. Eventually, he was forced to sell. He had to sell the company, the machinery, everything. And for way less than it was worth, maybe less than half its value.
So the war ends, but for Ettore, the nightmare continues, just in a different way.
Yeah, the politics got incredibly messy. You have to remember, he'd spent his whole working life in France, basically. But he was Italian by birth, never became a French citizen.
And Italy had been allied with Germany.
Exactly. So after the war, with French national feeling running sky high, the state turned on him, accused him of collaborating with the Germans, despite the fact he'd refused to build weapons for them.
That's brutal. He tried to fight it in court.
He did. Sued the state to get his company back, clear his name, but he lost the case. And all this is happening while his personal life is still falling apart. His wife, Barbara, died in 1944.
It's just completely broken. Factory gone, family fractured, reputation smeared.
Utterly broken. But he kept fighting, applied for French citizenship, maybe as a final symbolic act, but his health just collapsed. Lung disease, then a major stroke. By 1947, the sources say his mental faculties were basically gone. Complete paralysis.
And then the final agonizing twist.
It's almost unbelievable. After all those years fighting, the courts finally rule in his favor. His company, his possessions, legally restored to him. The news arrived just 10 days before he died, age 66. He won, but he was too far gone to even comprehend it.
So Ettore is gone, Jean's gone, the family couldn't run the factory.
No, they couldn't manage it. The Molsheim plant just shut down. The legendary Bugatti name went silent, abandoned for decades.
Until the late 80s, the first attempt at a comeback.
Right. An Italian entrepreneur, Romano Artioli, he bought the rights to the name in '87. Took 5 years, but in 1992, they launched the Bugatti EB110.
And the EB110 was a serious machine, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, a proper supercar, a real spiritual successor. It could hit 213 miles per hour, a monster for its time. But sadly, a bit like the Royale maybe, the business side didn't quite match the engineering brilliance, mismanagement, tough economic times.
History repeating itself.
A little bit, yeah. They only built 139 of them before the company went bankrupt again in 1995. Another dream dashed.
Which sets the stage for rebirth number 2, the one that stuck. Volkswagen steps in.
Volkswagen acquires the brand name in 1998, and they have a very clear vision. Bring Bugatti into the modern hypercar era. Focus everything on reclaiming that mantle of ultimate performance, speed records.
And they didn't waste any time. The Veyron 2005.
The Veyron just completely reset the benchmark, dominated everything, broke the world record fastest production road car. Clocked at 254 miles per hour is this massive statement, Bugatti is BKC case. And it's faster than anything else on Earth.
And they didn't stop there. The Veyron eventually gave way to the Chiron in 2015.
And the Chiron took it even further. 2019, they smashed the record again. Broke the 300-mile-per-hour barrier, an insane 305 miles per hour. So that century-old dream of just uncompromising performance, it lives on today in these absolutely untouchable speed records.
When you step back and look at the whole story, it's just an incredible arc.
It really is. You have Ettore's vision, the artist finding his voice in engineering, that genius fulfilled and utterly destroyed by war and personal tragedy, only for the name to come back decades later, stripped down to maybe its purest essence, that absolute pursuit of speed he started it all with.
It's fascinating, too, thinking about his early ideas. That low chassis design everyone thought was weird. It became the standard for high-performance cars. Then he became this pragmatic businessman building trains to save the company. Now, the Bugatti name means one thing: 300-plus mile-per-hour hypercars. So it leaves you with a question, doesn't it, for you listening? Think about Ettore. His fierce artistic perfectionism, his deep sense of engineering purity. The man who went from royal cars to rail cars. What would he really think of the modern Bugatti? This brand defined solely by shadowing speed records. Would he see it as the ultimate triumph of his original speed philosophy, or maybe a betrayal of that deeper artistic soul? Something to ponder.